Hey, GW coming to you live Saturday morning. Hey, listen, couple things. One, The Last Drive-In part season 3 debuted on Shudder last week. It was a new episode last night. There's going to be a replay on Sunday sometime. Shudder's a little behind on that. So I just wanted to let you guys know. And if you guys haven't seen Creepshow on Shudder, you guys should check that out, season 2. It is awesome. And I want to, like I said, I want to again apologize for the When a Stranger Calls review. That was not one of my better ones, and I feel like I've let you guys down because I feel like I missed the point on that deal. But I got a review for a movie that you probably may or may not have heard. It came out in '85, and it was called The New Kids, and it's directed by Sean Cunningham, who did such classics as Last House on the Left, Friday the 13th. I mean, the guy has a heck of a reputation. So definitely you need to look this one up. Like I said, again, it's from '85 and it stars James Spader. I know, isn't that interesting? James Spader in a horror flick. He did another one later down the road called Jack's Back, but I don't think it did as good. And believe it or not, this film also stars Lori Loughlin. Lori Loughlin, recently got in trouble for cheating, and I call her the cheater, but she was also in another movie from the '80s called Rad, which was about the BMX bike craze in a race, and we'll get to that, down the road some point. But this film was one of those ones you'd probably see on the rental shelf when video rentals were still around, and it didn't look that appealing. But then you start, really reading about it, and it comes up from time to time, and horror articles and this and that, and I I figured I'd check it out. It also stars Shannon Presby. Shannon Presby plays opposite Lori Loughlin's character, and it's a pretty wicked movie. Basically, it's a slow burn high school terror movie, and the reason I say that is because it ratchets up the tension. Basically, after the death of their parents, Abby and Lauren, played, like I said, by Lori Loughlin and Shannon Presby, go to live in Florida with their uncle. Now, the one thing, though, about that scene, whenever they travel to Florida, it's a 2-minute scene, but it does seem pretty long. I'm just going to tell you that. That's the first thing I noticed off the film. And they end up bumping into James Spader, whose character is called Dutra, and his gang of, I don't want to say delinquents, but misfits would be a better word, psychopaths. And they take bets on who's going to seduce Abby. And when Abby turns them all down, the psychoticness basically comes out. And at one point, James Spader's character, Dutra, says, because Abby calls him crazy, and Dutra goes, "You want crazy? I will show you crazy." And that's exactly what you get from that moment on in the movie. These guys spend their days, training a Rottweiler to attack anything. They shoot, they vandalize cars, they kidnap poor Abby from a high school dance. They almost set her on fire. They terrorize her uncle's Funland Park. And basically, the one thing that I will say about this film is it is a pretty terrifying teen movie, as well as it has a very, very, very cool climax to the film in which the final showdown is set in an abandoned carnival-like atmosphere. Some of the kills in this thing are pretty wicked. There's not a lot of them, but when they do happen, they are pretty messed up. This is one of those ones, like I just mentioned, you would probably bypass on rental shelf. But if you see it, I'm telling you, it's a pretty cool flick. Now, the VHS was put out by Columbia Pictures, and I wanted to show you guys something. What they did, and I think this is really cool, it's a callback to the VHS era. Take a look at that. They're starting to make cases like this. You can get this off Amazon. I think these cases are pretty awesome because, like I said, it does remind you of, videos stacked on a horror shelf, and it's pretty awesome. So check the New Kids out. It's not gonna be a very fast-paced horror film, but it's going to be one that's going to stick out after you watch it. And some of the things that Dutra and his gang does are very, very, very disturbing on so many levels. Lori Loughlin, her character of Abby, plays the, I don't want to say laid back sort of teenage girl, but when she does get a chance to act, she is not that bad. I'm going to tell you right now. Shannon Pressby's pretty awesome in this thing as Laurie's brother, and or Abby's brother in the movie. He does a lot of the fight scenes in that, and there is a lot of fighting in this. He does a lot of the stunts, and he's pretty cool. Like I said, this thing was written and directed by Sean S. Cunningham, so you guys are going to get quality horror out of this one. There's not much more I could say, except if you haven't heard about it, which I know a lot of people haven't, definitely give it a whirl and watch it just for the climax of the movie. If you watch the whole movie and don't care about the story, the climax is pretty cool. I mean, you have death by roller coaster car, you have death by electricity, death by flaming gasoline to the face, which I don't think I've ever seen that in a horror film. I really don't. So you might want to, like I said, really give this one a try, because I think it's one of those underrated gems that, probably found its following on, VHS. So, The New Kids, if you haven't heard about it, look it up. If you're a fan of James Spader and want to see what he looked like and how psychotic he could be, and he is a pretty psychotic individual in this film, I'm not going to lie. He almost makes the Mark Wahlberg's character in Fear look harmless. And I think this character actually set the template for that. So definitely, like I said, if you want to see a really cool, underrated horror film, check out The New Kids, written and directed by Sean S. Cunningham, starring James Spader and Lori Loughlin. Oh, it also has a cameo by Tom Atkins. Tom Atkins was the detective in Night of the Creeps, and he was also the detective in Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. He only gets maybe about 4 or 5 minutes of total screen time, but if you are a big Tom Atkins fan and can't live without seeing it, definitely check it out. If you are a fan of his, check it out. There is also, since this is an 80s movie, there is a training or a music montage that kind of goes with it, and that was a staple of the 80s and still, I think, is prevalent today. But you'll be missing out if you don't check out The New Kids. Tomorrow, we're going to try to do another movie involving schools, gangs, and a well-known celebrity that is now a very, very well-respected activist for Parkinson's. We'll check all that out tomorrow. So, enjoy your Saturday.